Commander Jiwan stood in the waiting chamber of the Grand Assembly Station. His uniform was crisp and neat. Next to him, Diplomat Hana reviewed her notes one last time. On his other side, military strategist Taiyang stared at the massive doors ahead. All three humans knew this meeting would change everything. The doors opened with a deep sound that echoed through the chamber. Inside, the room was enormous. 12 pedestals rose from the floor in a circle. On each pedestal sat a representative of the ancient species that ruled the galaxy. They had been in power for thousands of years. They controlled everything: trade routes, communication systems, military forces, and the laws that every species had to follow. Jiwan walked forward with steady steps. His face was calm. Hana and Taeyang followed behind him. The humans reached the center of the circle and stopped. Above them, the 12 council members looked down with expressions that humans found hard to read. The Vrelian ambassador spoke first. Its body was made of crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Its voice sounded like bells ringing in different tones. Humans of Earth, you have been summoned to receive the judgment of the Galactic Council. Jiwan nodded politely. He said nothing yet. It was better to listen first. Another council member, a being that looked like flowing water held in a rough shape, continued speaking. Your species has been observed for 200 standard cycles. The Council has reviewed your history, your behavior, and your expansion into space. We have concerns, said a third member. This one had 6 legs and fur that changed colors as it spoke. Your species is violent. You fight among yourselves. You have had thousands of wars on your home planet. Hana wanted to speak, but Jiwan touched her arm gently. Not yet, the Vrelian continued. You expand too quickly. You build colonies without asking permission. You make friends with other species without going through proper channels. You ask too many questions. You change things that have worked for millennia. Taeyang kept his face blank, but inside he was angry. They were being criticized for making friends and asking questions. The council has made a decision, the Vrelian said. Its crystal body glowed brighter. Earth will surrender all military vessels immediately. You will dismantle your weapons. You will submit to council governance. A council administrator will be assigned to your home world. The water-like being added more details. You will also provide 40% of your resources as tribute. This includes minerals, manufactured goods, and food. You will accept council observers on all your colonies. Your scientists will share all research with council reviewers before publication. 847 species have accepted similar terms, said the furry 6-legged member. All of them are peaceful now. All of them are happy. The council provides order. The council provides safety. The council knows what is best. The chamber fell silent. All 12 council members waited for the humans to respond. This was the moment when species usually begged for mercy or asked for better terms. Some species cried. Some got angry but then accepted. None ever refused. Jiwan looked up at each council member slowly. He made eye contact with each one. Then he smiled. It was a warm, genuine smile. The kind of smile someone gives when they receive good news or meet an old friend. Thank you, Jiwan said simply. We have heard your decision. We appreciate you taking the time to explain it to us. The council members shifted uncomfortably. This was not the usual response. You accept? The Vrelian asked. We heard what you said, Jiwan replied. His smile never changed. We understand that this is what you want. Thank you for being clear. Hana stepped forward slightly. She was also smiling now. We will need some time to discuss this with our government. As I'm sure you know, humans value the input of their people in major decisions. There is nothing to discuss. The water being said sharply. The council does not negotiate. The council commands. You will comply. Of course, Taeyang said. He was smiling too now. We understand that this is your position. We will take your message back to Earth. The furry council members' colors flashed red and orange. You do not understand. This is not a request. This is an order. You will sign the compliance documents now. Jiwan's smile remained unchanged. I don't have the authority to sign documents that affect all of humanity. That's not how our system works. We'll need to bring this to our people. Your people will do as they are told, another council member shouted. This one looked like a plant with many branches. Every species obeys the council. Every species knows that the council's wisdom is absolute. Every species. Every species. Wind Council. I'm sure your wisdom is vast. Hana said politely. You've been doing this for a long time. We're new to galactic civilization. We need time to learn and adapt. The Vrelian ambassador leaned forward on its pedestal. You have 3 standard cycles to comply. If you do not surrender your military forces and accept council governance, there will be consequences. What kind of consequences? Taeyong asked. His tone was curious. Not afraid. The kind that no species has ever wanted to face, the Vrelian said. The council controls everything. Without our permission, you cannot trade. You cannot travel through hyperspace lanes. You cannot communicate through the quantum network. You will be isolated and alone. That does sound serious, Jiwan said. He was still smiling. We'll definitely give this careful thought. The 3 humans bowed slightly, a gesture of respect from their culture. Then they turned and walked toward the doors. Their footsteps echoed in the massive chamber. The council members watched them go, in confused silence. As the doors closed behind them, one council member spoke to the others. Did they just refuse us? I don't think so, another replied. They seemed friendly. They smiled. No. But they didn't sign anything. Perhaps they need time to understand. All species need time at first. Something felt wrong, the Vrelian said quietly. That smile. I have studied humans. They smile for many reasons. Happy, sad, angry, nervous. That smile. I could not read it. In the corridor outside, the 3 humans walked in silence until they reached their ship. Well, Hana said. That went exactly as we expected. They really think we'll just give up everything, Taeyong said. They have no idea. Jiwan sat in the captain's chair and set course for Earth. Let them think we're weak. Let them think we're confused. Let them think a smile means we're happy to obey. How long until the plan starts? Hana asked. It already started, Jiwan said. He was still smiling, but now it was a different kind of smile. The moment we walked out of that chamber without signing their papers, everything began moving. By the time they realize what's happening, it will be too late. The ship jumped into hyperspace, leaving the Grand Assembly Station behind. On the station, the council members continued their meeting, discussing how quickly the humans would comply. They had no doubt that Earth would surrender. Every species always did. They had no idea that the humans were about to teach the galaxy what that smile really meant. 72 hours after the meeting at the Grand Assembly Station, something strange happened across the entire galaxy. Every human ship, station, and colony went silent at exactly the same moment. They all disappeared from the quantum communication network. Their hyperspace signatures vanished. Their identification signals stopped transmitting. It was as if humanity had simply ceased to exist. On the Council's monitoring station, Technician Kelvara checked her instruments 3 times. She was certain there was a malfunction. But all her equipment worked perfectly. The humans were simply gone. She reported it to her supervisor. Within an hour, the report reached the Council itself. The 12 members gathered for an emergency meeting. They've complied faster than expected, the 6-legged furry member said. Its colors showed satisfaction. They shut down their operations, as ordered. The 64. Allo. But we gave them 3 cycles, the water being said. Why would they act so quickly? The Vrelian ambassador studied the data. Perhaps they wanted to show cooperation. Perhaps they hoped for mercy. Should we send observers to Earth to verify compliance? Asked the plant-like member. Give them time, the Vrelian said. Let them adjust to their new situation. We will inspect their world in a few cycles. The council dismissed the issue and returned to other business. They felt satisfied. Another aggressive species had been brought under control. Order would continue. But then the problem started. 3 days later, a Keltorian colony reported system failures. Their agricultural domes were losing atmospheric pressure. The systems that controlled air mixture and temperature were malfunctioning. The colony's engineers tried to fix them but couldn't understand the systems. Where are the human maintenance workers? The colony administrator asked. The Keltorians had hired human engineers 5 years ago. The humans had upgraded their systems, made them more efficient, and maintained them ever since. The Keltorian engineers had been happy to let the humans handle it. Now, those humans were gone, and no one else knew how the upgrades worked. Similar reports came from other colonies. The Dravix shipyards found that their assembly systems had stopped working. Humans had optimized the manufacturing process the previous year. Without them, the shipyard workers couldn't even start the machines. A major trade route through the Andari sector became dangerous. Human ships had been providing navigation assistance through the sector's gravitational anomalies. Without them, 3 vessels got caught in gravitational eddies and had to be rescued. The council received hundreds of reports. Everywhere humans had worked, things were breaking down. It seemed humans had become essential to many operations without anyone noticing. Summon the human liaison, the Vrelian commanded. Nari had been left behind when the other humans departed. She was a scientist who had been working at a research facility on the council's primary station. She arrived at the council chamber with a polite smile on her face. You requested my presence? She asked. Her voice was friendly and calm. Explain what has happened, the Vrelian demanded. Where are your people? Why have all human activities ceased? Nari clasped her hands in front of her. Oh, we went home. All of us. We decided to opt out of galactic civilization. The council members looked at each other in confusion. Opt out? The water being repeated. You cannot opt out. You are part of galactic civilization, whether you choose to be or not. With respect, Nari said, still smiling. We never actually agreed to join in the first place. We just started trading and making friends with other species. No one ever asked if we accepted the council's authority. So now we're choosing not to participate. You were ordered to surrender, the furry member said. Its colors flashed angry red. You were told to accept council governance. Yes, you told us that. Nari agreed. But we don't accept your authority to give us orders. So we're simply going back to our own space. We'll be self-sufficient. Odor. Ask. Odor. Ask. Odor. Ask. You are causing problems throughout the galaxy, the plant-like member said. Systems are failing. Operations have stopped. Your people were maintaining important infrastructure. Were we? Nari looked genuinely surprised. I didn't realize other species couldn't maintain their own systems. We just tried to help where we could. We thought we were being good neighbors. The Vrelian's crystal body darkened. You will order your people to return to their posts immediately. You will restore all systems that have stopped functioning. I can't do that, Nari said simply. They're all in human space now. We've disconnected from your networks. We're not using your hyperspace lanes or your communication systems anymore. That's impossible, the water being said. You cannot travel between stars without our hyperspace lanes. You cannot communicate across vast distances without the quantum network. You would be isolated and helpless. Nari's smile widened slightly. We've developed some alternative methods. Nothing fancy. Just different approaches to the same problems. We didn't want to bother you with the technical details. The council chamber fell silent. The members were beginning to understand something disturbing. The humans had their own technology. Technology the Council didn't know about. You will comply with Council orders, the Vrelian said firmly. You will bring your people back. You will accept Council authority. Or what? Nari asked. The question was polite, curious, not challenging. Or we will enforce compliance with military action, the furry member declared. Nari nodded slowly. I see. So you would send your fleet to attack Earth? If necessary. Your Grand Armada. The combined military might of all 12 Council species. Yes. Nari pulled a small data pad from her pocket. She tapped it a few times, and then showed the screen to the Council. According to this, your Grand Armada currently consists of 347 vessels. They're stationed at various locations across Council space. That is correct, the Vrelian said. And those vessels are maintained by your own species engineers? Of course. None of them have human-made components or systems? The Council members hesitated. Over the past 2 centuries, humans had become involved in many aspects of galactic technology. They had improved engines, upgraded weapons, optimized shields. Their modifications were everywhere. Some vessels may have human modifications, the water being admitted. Nari's smile remained gentle and friendly. Then you might want to check those modifications very carefully before you send your fleet anywhere. Just a suggestion. The plant-like member leaned forward. Are you threatening us? Not at all, Nari said. I'm just concerned for everyone's safety. Space travel is dangerous. Equipment failures can be deadly. You should always make sure your ships are in perfect working order before launching military operations. The Vrelian studied Nari carefully. The human's expression was pleasant and helpful, but there was something in her eyes, something that made the ancient being feel very uncomfortable. What have your people done? The Vrelian asked quietly. We've just gone home, Nari said. That's all. We're not interfering with anyone. We're not threatening anyone. We're simply choosing not to participate in a system we never agreed to join. You cannot isolate yourselves, the 6-legged member said. You need the Council. You need our trade networks, our protection, our guidance. Do we? Nari tilted her head slightly. I think you'll find that we're quite capable on our own, and I think you're starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, you needed us more than we needed you. She bowed slightly, the same gesture Jiwan had made 72 hours earlier. If there's nothing else, I should return to my work. I'm cataloging data before I go home too. You're leaving? The Vrelian asked. Of course, Nari said. All humans are going home. That's what we decided. We're opting out. She turned and walked toward the doors. No one stopped her. After she was gone, the water being spoke first. Did she just threaten our entire fleet? I think so, the furry member said. But she smiled the whole time. What have we done? The Vrelian whispered. The Council quickly ordered a full inspection of the Grand Armada. They wanted to know exactly what the humans had modified. They needed to understand what they were dealing with, but in their hearts, they already knew. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for a long time, and that smile Nari wore, that gentle, friendly smile, meant something much more dangerous than any threat. News of what happened at Earth spread across the galaxy faster than hyperspace signals could travel. Species that had been silent for centuries suddenly started talking. They whispered in markets. They gathered in secret meetings. They asked questions they had been afraid to ask for generations. The Silorn were the first to act. They were a 4-armed species with gray skin and large eyes. They had served the Council for 6 centuries. They mined rare minerals from dangerous asteroid fields. They built ships for Council species. They did what they were told and never complained. On the mining station above Silorn Prime, workers gathered after their shift ended. A leader named Bora stood before them. She held up a strange weapon that no one had seen before. This arrived yesterday, she said. There's one for each of us. They came with a message from humans. The message said we don't have to obey anymore if we don't want to. We can choose. Choose what? Someone asked. Freedom, Bora said simply. The humans broke free from the council. They proved it's possible. They sent us tools to do the same. The council will destroy us, another worker said. They have the Grand Armada. The Grand Armada couldn't defeat one human ship, Bora replied. The council is not as strong as they want us to believe. They're strong because we believe they're strong. They have power because we give them power. Bora. They have power. They have power. They have power. The Cylorn workers looked at each other. Some were excited. Some were afraid. But all of them were thinking about something they hadn't allowed themselves to think about in centuries. What if, they said, no. The next day, the Cylorn stopped mining. They stopped building ships. They sent a message to the council, declaring independence. When the council threatened military action, the Cylorn activated defense systems that appeared overnight. Human-designed weapons. Human technology that made the council think twice about attacking. 3 days later, the Drenix colonies did the same thing. The Drenix were aquatic beings who controlled many water worlds. They had been unhappy with council rule for years, but had no way to resist. Then, mysterious defense platforms appeared around their worlds. Technology they hadn't built, but suddenly controlled. Then the Carthan declared independence. Then the Silvox. Then the Renni. Species after species announced they were leaving the council. Every one of them had received human weapons and technology. Every one of them had been armed and organized in secret. The council called an emergency session. The 12 members gathered in a chamber that felt smaller than before. Empty pedestals lined the walls where representatives of subject species used to sit. Most of those pedestals were empty now. How did this happen? The 6-legged furry member demanded. Its colors flashed angry red and orange. How did the humans arm so many species without us knowing? They've been planning this for decades, the Vrelian said. Its crystal body was dark with worry. Every human trader was also a spy. Every human engineer was also a weapons specialist. Every human diplomat was making secret alliances. We trusted them, the water being said. Its form rippled with distress. They betrayed that trust, the plant-like member said. They have destroyed everything we built. The doors to the chamber opened. Everyone turned to look. Diplomat Hana walked in, but she wasn't alone. Behind her came representatives from 40 different species. Species that had been part of the council. Species that were now declaring independence. Hana walked to the center of the chamber. She didn't bow this time. She stood straight and confident. The Galactic Council is invited to join the Democratic Assembly of Free Worlds. The what? The Vrelian asked. We've formed a new organization, Hana explained. Every species gets one vote. Every voice is heard equally. Decisions are made by majority agreement. No species has veto power. No species can force others to obey. The council members stared at her. The alien representatives behind her stood firm. You cannot do this, the furry member said. The council has maintained order for 10,000 years. We have kept the peace. We have prevented chaos. You've prevented freedom, said one of the alien representatives. It was Bora, the Cylorn leader. You've prevented choice. You've prevented growth and change and new ideas. Another representative stepped forward. This was a Drenix named Kole. His voice bubbled like water. The council claims to protect us, but you protect us from things we never feared. You protect us from making our own decisions. You protect us from being responsible for our own lives. We have wisdom, the plant-like member said. We have experience. We know what is best. For yourselves, Hana said. You know what's best for your own species. But you don't know what's best for everyone. No one does. That's why decisions should be made together, not handed down from above. The Vrelian stood up on its pedestal. You are children rebelling against parents. You will fail. You will fight among yourselves. You will create the very chaos that the council was formed to prevent. Maybe, Hana admitted. Democracy is messy. It's loud and complicated. And sometimes frustrating. But it's honest. When people make decisions together, they own those decisions. When someone forces you to obey, you're just waiting for a chance to rebel. She pulled out a document and held it up. This is the charter for the Democratic Assembly. Every species here has signed it. We're inviting the council species to sign it too. Not as rulers, as equals. Equals? The water being sounded offended. We are the oldest species in the galaxy. We have achieved things you cannot imagine. We are not equal to primitives and children. Then you can stay in your own systems, Hana said calmly. The assembly won't force you to join. We won't threaten you or isolate you or punish you. We'll just move forward without you. She turned to leave, the 40 representatives following her. Before she reached the door, the Vrelian called out, "Wait." Everyone stopped. The Vrelian climbed down from its pedestal. It walked toward Hana on crystalline legs that clicked against the floor. Up close, it was enormous, towering over the human diplomat. "You said we have wisdom," the Vrelian said quietly. "But I am beginning to think we have only old habits. We have only fear of change, dressed up as certainty." "Everyone fears change," Hana said gently. "It's natural. How do we know this assembly will not become just another council?" the Vrelian asked. "How do we know humans will not become the new rulers?" "You don't," Hana said honestly. "We don't either. That's why the rules are written down. That's why every species gets an equal vote. That's why we can change leaders if they become corrupt. Democracy isn't perfect, but it has built-in ways to fix itself." The Vrelian looked at the other council members. They sat on their pedestals, ancient and powerful, and suddenly very uncertain. "What happens to the council if we don't join?" the six-legged member asked. "You continue as you are," Hana said, "in your own space, with your own rules. But most species have already joined the assembly. Your trade networks are breaking apart. Your influence is fading. You can try to hold on to power through force, but that never works forever." "Or?" the Vrelian asked. "Or you join us," Hana said. "You bring your wisdom and experience to the table. You help us build something better than either the council or the assembly could build alone. You stop trying to rule and start trying to cooperate," the water being flowed down from its pedestal. Then, the furry member. Then, the plant-like being. One by one, the ancient species climbed down from their positions of power. They gathered around Hana and the other representatives. "We need time," the Vrelian said. "We need to discuss this among ourselves." "Take all the time you need," Hana said. "The assembly isn't going anywhere. We'll be building a new civilization. When you're ready, there will be a place for you." She handed the charter document to the Vrelian. "Read it carefully. Make sure you understand what you're agreeing to. This isn't about humans ruling. It's about no one ruling. It's about everyone working together." As the humans and their allies left the chamber, the council members stood together in a circle. They passed the charter around, reading its words. They looked at their empty chamber, their abandoned pedestals, their fading power. "We could fight," the furry member said quietly. "We could," the Vrelian agreed. "And we would lose. Not because humans are stronger, because the idea is stronger. Freedom is stronger than order. Choice is stronger than obedience." "Then what do we do?" the plant-like being asked. The Vrelian held up the charter. "We read, we think, we learn, and perhaps we join them, not as rulers or subjects, but as something we have never been before." "What's that?" the water being asked. "Partners," the Vrelian said. "True partners." 6 months passed. The Grand Assembly Station was transformed. Where once 12 pedestals stood high above everyone else, Now there were thousands of seats arranged in circles. Every species had equal positions. Every voice carried the same weight. The old chamber of power had become a true meeting hall. Commander Jiwan stood at a simple podium in the center. He had been elected as the first mediator of the Democratic Assembly. His job was not to rule but to guide discussions and make sure everyone was heard. He wore the same uniform he had worn when the council first summoned him, but the meaning was different now. The Assembly recognizes the delegations from the former council species, Jiwan said. His voice was calm and clear. The doors opened. The Vrelian ambassador led a group of beings into the chamber. Behind the Vrelian came the water being, the furry six-legged member, the plant-like being, and all the others. They walked to empty seats that had been reserved for them. Not special seats, not high pedestals, just regular seats, like everyone else had. The chamber was completely silent. Every species watched to see what would happen. Would the old council members demand their power back? Would they try to take control? Would they refuse to accept equality? The Vrelian stood up slowly. Its crystal body reflected light across the chamber. The 12 species of the former council request permission to join the Democratic Assembly of Free Worlds. Jiwan nodded. The Assembly welcomes your request. According to our charter, any species may join by accepting the principles of democratic cooperation. Do you accept that every species has equal voice? Do you accept that decisions are made by majority vote? Do you accept that no species has the power to force others to obey? The Vrelian looked at the other former council members. They all stood up together. We accept, the Vrelian said. We have spent 6 months learning what these words really mean. We accept them not because we must, but because we choose to. The chamber erupted in sounds from hundreds of different species. Some clapped. Some made musical noises. Some flashed lights. It was chaotic, and messy, and beautiful. Jiwan smiled. Then welcome to the Assembly. Your seats are ready. Your voices will be heard. Your votes will count the same as everyone else's. The former council members sat down. For the first time in 10,000 years, they were not looking down at others. They were sitting among them as equals. The session continued. Engineer Seijin presented proposals for sharing human technology with all species. There would be no secrets, no proprietary information. Everything humans had learned would be available to everyone who wanted it. But won't this make us less special? Someone asked. Won't other species catch up to human technology? Seijin laughed. We hope so. Competition makes everyone better. Cooperation makes everyone stronger. We don't want to be the most advanced species. We want to be part of a galaxy where everyone keeps advancing together. Scientist Suman spoke next. She explained breakthroughs humans had made by ignoring council restrictions. Medical treatments that were forbidden because they seemed too dangerous. Energy systems that were banned because they seemed too unstable. Exploration methods that were prohibited because they seemed too risky. The council wanted safety, Suman said. They wanted to protect everyone from harm. But perfect safety means no growth, no discovery, no progress. We took risks. Some of our experiments failed. Some people got hurt. But we learned and improved, and eventually succeeded. A representative from a cautious species stood up. But at what cost? How many died because of your reckless experiments? Fewer than you'd think, Suman replied honestly. We took calculated risks, not stupid ones. We volunteered for dangerous research. No one was forced. And because we pushed boundaries, we found cures for diseases that killed millions. We developed energy sources that saved dying worlds. The cost was real, but the benefits were greater. Military Coordinator Taeyang presented the most controversial proposal. Earth's defense fleet would become a volunteer peacekeeping force open to all species. Humans would share their military technology, They would train soldiers from every world. The goal was not to create a new military power, but to ensure every species could defend itself. You want to arm everyone? A worried representative asked. That sounds like chaos. It's already chaos, Taeyang said. The council tried to prevent conflict by monopolizing force, but that just meant they decided who lived and who died. We're proposing something different. Everyone has the right to defend themselves. Everyone has the responsibility to use force only when necessary. It's messier than the old system, but it's more honest. The debates went on for hours. Species argued and compromised, and argued some more. It was loud and complicated and nothing like the efficient council sessions where orders were simply given and followed, but it was working. Slowly, messily, imperfectly, it was working. During a break, the Vrelian approached Jiwan privately. The two stood together, looking out at the chamber, where thousands of species mingled and talked. I have a question, the Vrelian said. When we first gave you our orders, you smiled. When we threatened you, you smiled. When we sent our fleet to destroy your world, your people smiled. Why? Jiwan was quiet for a moment, thinking about his answer. You know that humans smile for many reasons, right? Happy, sad, nervous, angry. We smile when we're confused. We smile when we're in pain. It's complicated. I know, the Vrelian said. That's why I could never understand what your smile meant back then. It meant hope, Jiwan said finally. We were hoping you would understand. We were hoping you would see that we didn't want to hurt anyone. We just couldn't accept being controlled. We smiled because we hoped for a better way than violence. But you prepared for violence anyway, the Vrelian noted. Yes, Jiwan admitted. Hope is not the same as foolishness. We hoped for peace but prepared for war. We smiled because we wanted peace to be possible. But we built weapons because we knew it might not be. The Vrelian's crystal body shifted colors, showing something like understanding. And now? What does your smile mean now? Jiwan looked out at the assembly chamber. He saw species working together who had never talked to each other before. He saw old enemies finding common ground. He saw the beginning of something new and uncertain and full of potential. Now it means satisfaction, he said. We fought for the right to choose our own path. We won that right. But the best part is that everyone else won it too. We didn't defeat the council to take their place. We defeated them to create something where no one rules and everyone chooses. He turned to face the Vrelian directly. That's worth smiling about. That's worth all the risk and effort and struggle. We finally have what we always wanted. What's that? The Vrelian asked. Freedom, Jiwan said. Real freedom. Not just for humans, but for everyone. The freedom to succeed. The freedom to fail. The freedom to try new things and make mistakes and learn and grow. The freedom to say no when someone tries to control you. The freedom to say yes when you choose to cooperate. The Vrelian stood silent for a long moment. Then, awkwardly, strangely, it tried to smile. The expression didn't work well on a crystalline face, but the meaning was clear. I think I am beginning to understand, the Vrelian said. For 10,000 years, we thought we were giving order to the galaxy, but we were just taking choices away. You humans showed us that real peace comes from freedom, not control. That is worth smiling about. They returned to the assembly chamber together. The session resumed. More debates. More arguments. More compromises. Democracy in action. Messy and loud and alive. In the observation deck above, Hana stood with several alien colleagues. They had become friends over the past months, working together to build the new system. One of them, a Cylorn named Bora, looked down at the chamber floor. Your people always seem so happy, Bora said. Even when things are difficult, even when we argue and disagree, You smile through all of it. Why? Hana watched as the assembly worked through another complex issue. She saw species learning to work together. She saw compromise and cooperation slowly replacing command and obedience. She saw the future taking shape in ways no one could have predicted. We smile because this is what we dreamed of. She said softly. A galaxy where everyone gets to choose, where no one forces anyone else to obey, where we succeed or fail together by our own decisions, where freedom matters more than order. She turned to Bora with a warm smile. We smile because we finally got what we always wanted. Not dominance, not power, not control. Just the simple right to be free and to help others be free too. In a galaxy this beautiful, with this many amazing species, what else could we want? Bora tried to copy the human smile. It looked strange on her alien face, but Hana appreciated the effort. I think I understand now, Bora said. The Galactic Council gave its orders. Humans replied with a smile. Because you already knew those orders meant nothing. Because you had already decided to be free. Exactly, Hana said. And now everyone else decided the same thing. That's the real victory. Not that humans won, but that everyone won. They stood together, watching the assembly work. The galaxy was changing. The old certainties were gone. The future was uncertain and challenging and full of possibilities. And all across the observation deck, members of dozens of species were learning to smile.